Hi everybody, my name is Dustin Lewis and I'm the Associate Director of Student Involvement in the Office of Student Involvement, Gallagher Student Center and Commuter Services. We're going to be doing training for student organizations a little bit differently this year using video for obvious reasons. So I'm going to get this started and kicked off. This training is going to be probably about 15 minutes, but there's a bunch of supplemental videos that are really helpful for you that you can find on our website. So let's get started. This workshop is going to walk you through some of the basic information that you're going to need and that you'll find helpful this year, but it's not exclusively everything that you'll want to know. So there are going to be some supplemental videos and some additional resources that I reference. One of the main resources that I would encourage every student organization to read carefully is on the Return to Campus website, which is xavier.edu/return-to-campus. Under that, I would go to the Student Life section and look at campus event guidelines. Okay, so what do we do as the Office of Student Involvement, Gallagher Student Center and Commuter Services? Our office oversees orientation programs like Manresa, transfer orientation. We work with Apex students as well to orient them to campus. We work with campus activities and events, so that's anything from Student Activities Council to event series like Week of Welcome, Club Day, Winter Week of Welcome, and Winter Club Day. We also manage the Gallagher Student Center. We work with leadership programs like the Emerging Leaders Retreat and also the Arupe Leaders and Pedro. We work with all the clubs and organizations on campus, and we support student government as well. Here's some important dates. I'll leave this up on screen, but we've got the Week of Welcome happening now. Club Days next week, August 25th through the 27th. The new activation window for new clubs is August 17th through September 28th. That's the only period of time that a new group can form on our campus. Student Organization Academy is going to be delivered differently this year. It's a Canvas course that'll be available from September 7th through the 21st. Student organizations will be expected to have officers participate in the Student Org Academy and also to complete a verification that they took the academy. Mid-year reports will be available November 2nd through December 4th, and that's for all student organizations to complete and indicate what they've been up to for the fall. The final day for campus events is midnight November 24th. This is the day after Thanksgiving, so obviously there won't be a whole lot of events happening at that point. Winter Week of Welcome will be January 11th through the 16th. We will have budget requests available for university-affiliated organizations and subordinate bodies January 11th through February 1st. Winter Club Day is currently scheduled for January 20th, and club budgets for the rest of you will be open between February 1st and March 5th. And then finally, the reactivation deadline for you to submit advisor agreements and get your club restarted, as well as a year-end report for next year, will be April 30th, and the final day for campus events is also April 30th. So in ENGAGEXU, officers have access to view the accounting book, which is where you can look and see what's your current balance of your organization and also what transactions have hit. So if you log in and go to accounting book within your group, you do have to be an officer to view. And just a reminder, officer in ENGAGEXU is really anyone who has admin privileges of a group. So when I say officer, I'm also referencing advisors. You can take a look here and see what the current balance is, and then if you were looking at this book and scrolled down, you'd see whatever transactions had hit. Just a note for everyone as a reminder, we currently have not received the allocation of the student activity fee for this year. It's expected to come in around August 31st. We will then allocate out your balances to your organization of what was allocated for this next year. So the financial practices and policies, although we have moved these practices online to Engage, they're still very similar to what we've done in the past, and that is students initiate the expense in ENGAGEXU, the advisor then approves the expense in Engage, it then comes to student involvement or rec sports if you're a club sport for approval, and then moves on to whichever financial office is going to execute the payment. This is the student organization purchase form. And with this form, you actually can order items from Amazon or from Office Depot. You can order office supplies. The form is also used as the previous check request was used to pay vendors. So as you start the form, it will ask whether or not you are interested in making an order with Amazon, Office Depot, or trying to pay a vendor. And if paying a vendor, you'll need to have some sort of a quote or contract that shows proof of what we owe the vendor. You'll also need a W-9 form, which is an IRS form you can find on the internet or you can find on our website. And just a reminder for students that you're paying or hiring, they have to actually be set up for student employment. So reach out to student involvement first. You can't hire a student graphic designer or a DJ with this form. The process for this form is that you fill it out, put in your request, and then when you hit submit, it goes to your advisor for approval, and then it goes to either student involvement or rec sports if you're a club sport for us to be able to further process. The next form we're going to look at is the student organization student reimbursement form. So students can be reimbursed for purchases up to $300 in cash from the bursar, or they can be reimbursed for over $300 via check, but it still uses this same form. It's just processed a little differently on our end. To be reimbursed, you do have to upload copies of your receipts, and just a reminder, we do not and cannot reimburse for sales tax. Because Xavier is a tax-exempt organization, you therefore are a tax-exempt student organization. And so the tax-exempt form you can find on our website. You can download and take it with you whenever you go shopping, so that way they'll remove sales tax. Advisors, just as a note, will use a separate form. This is not the form that an advisor will submit. This is only to reimburse a student for student organization expenses. Student organization student cash advance form. Organizations can take out up to $300 of cash at a time. Cash can then be used to purchase goods, but students have to return receipts along with the unspent cash back to the bursar. There will be a paper form at the bursar's office available for you called Student Cash Return. It's just a simple half sheet. You basically fill out and say, here's who I am, here's what I spent this money on, here's the number of my fund, and I'm returning whatever unspent cash or receipts adding up to what I took out back to you. Vendors can't be paid in cash for any type of service or contractual performance. This includes a gift card. Services like students performing a service like a DJ, graphic designer, they can't be paid in cash or gift card either. Cash returns should be submitted within 5 business days, so it's up to you to close out your advance with the bursar within 5 days of taking out funds. With any of these forms, I think it's helpful for you to know what happens is you submit the form, it then digitally comes in, and your advisor is pulled in to say, hey, do you approve of this? Then student involvement or rec sports, if you're a club sport, get pulled in as well. Once we hit approve, it then goes over to the bursar's office to be paid out. So just a reminder, when it comes to contract signatures, students can't sign any contracts ever. Student organization advisors will have some limited ability, but with university policies, a lot of contracts have to go through student involvement first, and they may have to be signed at a higher level. So please let us know if you're going to be doing any contracts for performers or renting equipment, anything like that. Just let us know first and we'll advise you on how to proceed. Advisors can do some facility use agreements and can do catering, can do some equipment rental, things like that. When it comes to event rentals, we recommend that you work with student involvement, work with us to ensure that the risk and liability paperwork is taken care of as well. When in doubt, just ask us first. So when it comes to event policies, fundraising, just a high-level overview. Fundraising can be done. We are limiting this year and asking that fundraising not be in a person-to-person exchange. So we really want fundraisers to be either online or they can be like letter writing campaigns or things that are digitally collected. We're going to try to minimize how much we are selling items, touching things and passing them from person to person. There also will not be tabling that's permitted for the same purpose. So there will be limited times when tabling can happen as part of an event, but there won't be like promotional tabling that's happening, and especially inside buildings. As a reminder, student groups are prohibited from selling homemade baked goods. So coming soon, these are some exciting things. We're just about ready to launch. Zelle is a Venmo-like product powered by US Bank. that we are going to bring on board to replace cash reimbursements. So very soon when you fill out the reimbursement form, what will happen is instead of the bursar handing you cash, the bursar will execute a payment to you via Zelle. So it goes to your phone, and then just like Venmo, you just transfer it to your bank. Then ENGAGEXU will also start to receive payments soon, so students will be able to sell items online. This includes collecting dues and charging admission for tickets. So look for more information soon, and we'll explain how that launches. And then finally, this is a product we think people are going to get really excited about. We are onboarding another US bank product called Instacard, and what this will do is instead of getting a cash advance, we'll be able to issue a digital credit card to a user. So once you get permission to have some sort of advance, you then will have a card that you can have sent to your phone. It'll be in your wallet, and then you basically can spend on it for a certain period of time and up to a certain amount. So this will be sort of a temporary use. Think of it as like, hey, I need to go to Kroger to make a purchase. We'll issue an Instacard to you. You can then go to Kroger and use the card there. It'll be helpful, especially if you're booking any sort of travel in the future or you're trying to pay for something online. This will be really, really helpful. We also are going to have the ability to issue a temporary plastic credit card to you for approved spending. So for example, if you're renting a car, they still provide that you produce an actual card in person in order to get that car. Events at ENGAGEXU, just so you know, and again, really helpful if you take a look at the Return to Campus guidelines. There's also a separate video I did specifically about those guidelines that I'd encourage you to watch. But student organizations are required to submit your events, including meetings, through ENGAGEXU. So all of your activities should be entered into ENGAGEXU as events. Per the campus events guidelines with COVID-19, groups should be tracking and entering attendance for any in-person activities, so that way we can support contact tracing if needed. The new events form in ENGAGEXU is more robust, but yet also really efficient. So instead of having to fill out multiple forms in order to get an event off the ground, you can actually do one form that'll collect all the information we need. And this helps to get permission for a variety of different events and activities, and to reserve spaces. So events with large audiences, events that involve political or lobbying activities where alcohol might be available, public speakers, protest rallies, demonstrations, fundraising, tabling, and outdoor reservations and postings. And once again, tabling will probably be at a pretty minimum, if any at all, but it is included in the form. So outdoor space, you can reserve using that. This is also where you can request to do postings like signs and flags. This semester, just as a note, Fenwick Place cannot be reserved or used for tabling of any kind, and that's to reduce the amount of traffic that's in that lobby as people are adjusting to changes with HOF and making meal reservations and waiting to go in. Campus public speakers and events, that's also part of that event policy and the event submission. It does require approval from student involvement, student affairs, and the provost. Controversial events won't be denied, but they should be considered that the university best prepare a response. And then just as a reminder, academic freedom does not inherently apply to student organization events. That is related to faculty within their own classroom. Student lobbying and political activities, we're certainly going to be an active campus this fall with the presidential election, but these events need to be submitted. That includes even just doing any type of event where you're collecting voter registration. So please submit the events in ENGAGEXU, and then student involvement will consult with government relations when needed. Events with alcohol can happen. They're kind of rare, but there's a few different pieces here that are required in order for you to get permission. Alcohol can't be the focus point of the activity. The majority of attendees have to be over 21. The advisor has to be present. Then there's some additional pieces here you can read. You have to provide some food and beverage that's non-alcoholic. On-campus events have to use Chartwells. Security is required. The final day for campus programming, which again this year, this semester at least, is Friday after Thanksgiving. It shouldn't be a problem, but it's the Friday before finals week, and that's to ensure that there are no events happening and interrupting with people studying and getting ready. Gambling policy, essentially you can't gamble on campus. And then brand use, just so you know, you do have to submit items for approval. And that form, there's a typo here, it says OrgSync. That form actually is in ENGAGEXU, and you can find it linked to our website. Motion picture copyright, just a reminder for everybody, copyright prohibits that you do any sort of screening of a feature film or documentary without a public license. We do have some great systems on campus like Canopy, spelled with a K, out of the library, allows you to stream. The library has a license for the campus and you can stream a lot of different films. We also have Spectrum U on our campus, which is through the cable system. So if you are on campus, logged in with your Xavier credentials and using Xavier Wi-Fi, you can actually watch and you can even stream the films that are on Spectrum U. You can't just straight up pull up Netflix or Hulu and just start showing a movie. Those are licensed only for individual use within a household. Off-campus travel, just a note here, there won't be a lot of travel that's happening, but any travel that is requested should be submitted through the off-campus travel and activities form that's found on our website and through ENGAGEXU. COVID-19 guidelines dictate 35 miles distance from campus is the maximum amount people can travel. It should be day trips only, no overnights, and that the destination has to comply with university guidelines. So like people have to be wearing masks wherever you're headed, the crowd can't be too dense, and people need to socially distance. This will probably prevent a lot of groups from going to like major activities and events. So like if we have sporting events happening downtown, those probably won't be approved because they probably can't control for crowds, things like that. Transportation should also operate at 50% capacity. That means that in a standard car where you might have like 5 seats, 5 seat belts, you shouldn't have more than 3 people traveling together. And on a bus where you might be able to normally seat 45 people, you should only have probably up to 23 at most. Exemptions can be requested through the form, but they have to have a strong argument to be granted. Safety comes first. Chaperones may be traveling with you. So there's a list of different chaperone expectations. If you have a chaperone because you have met the threshold in which a chaperone is needed, meaning there's more than 12 people attending something or that the event is higher risk, they will get a separate form with chaperone expectations for them to approve and accept. All right, so that wraps up this training. I hit 16 minutes, so just a little bit over. But again, there's some supplemental videos on the same webpage. I'd encourage you to check them out and send any questions you have directly to me, Dustin Lewis, at lewisd6@xavier.edu or xuinvolvement@xavier.edu. Thanks so much.